I've just come back from a hill station and it was wonderfully chilly there. What I realized and noticed is that everyone was buying chikkis in the stores there. I thought I'll take this high demand as an opportunity to show you that recipe. Well, this is dry fruit chikki. Hey guys, it's me, the Bombay Chef Varun Inamdar, and welcome to Rajshri Food. And winter is here. Let's begin. For the dry fruit chikki, what's important primarily is to take dry fruits of very good quality and the dry fruits of your choice. Well, what I personally like taking, cashew nuts, almonds and pistachios, whole or broken. Again, the choice is completely yours. It's important to begin with roasting the dry fruits. Now, in case you're taking softer dry fruits, it could be apricots or dates or anything for that matter. It could also be figs. Just keep them separate, do not roast them. Also, I would personally request you to keep it separate and to make a separate chikki out of it rather than roasting it along with this and making a chikki out of it. So just remember that. For this recipe, the drier nuts. In this case, almonds, pistachios and cashew nuts. By all means, you can also add in the exclusive nuts like pecan or walnuts or macadamia or hazelnut, completely your choice. Just do not mix peanuts or chana dal in this because you get another very exclusive, wonderful chikki, which is a peanut chikki or a chana dal chikki. But that for another day. Let's roast this on low flame till it's nice and toasted. And this could take anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes, depending on how swiftly you do this. Well, I'm making a very small batch of chikki. In case you're the ones who is making a larger batch, just ensure that the nuts are toasted or roasted separately. Well, you can also do this same thing using an oven, 200 degrees Celsius, 6 minutes in a preheated oven, and your nuts will be perfectly toasted. Well, internationally, the same recipe is also called a nougat. Some people also call it a nougat, but that's wrong. It's a nougat or a praline. Some people call it a praline. Again, societies pronounce it differently. You can choose your own pronunciation, and that is nougat and praline for you. It's the same recipe. The only thing is jaggery is something that makes it very, very regional, very exotic, very desi. Internationally, they use either brown sugar or sugar. Well, on that note, we also have sugar chikkis. How do you make that? Now, you need to follow the same recipe and just replace the quantity of jaggery with white sugar. Exactly, the cooking remains the same. This could get a little troublesome, and I'm saying that right out, right there in the open. Chikki could get a little troublesome, but I'll tell you how to make do with that. In case you go wrong while setting the chikki, there is a second recipe or an alternate recipe that begins from there. Let's first get this right. The nuts are toasted and ready. Let's transfer this in a bowl and allow this to still remain warm. Just ensure that the nuts are still nice and warm even while going further, because the colder nuts going in hot jaggery could have a thermal shock. It could just congeal right there, and that's the first fault while making chikki. But we'll come to that as well. Let's begin with the process, and that's with the addition of cold water along with this jaggery. Now in India, you get different varieties of jaggery. Now of course, you get gradations by color, which could be brown jaggery or yellow jaggery. Of course, I'm not getting into organic jaggery or natural jaggery and things like that because that's also a category. I'm talking about the cooking gradations. Now you get primarily two different kinds of cooking jaggery. The first one is used for chikkis and for laddus. The second one is used for mithais. Now, whenever you're making something softer, you choose the mithai jaggery. Whenever you're making something like a chikki or a nougat or a praline, ensure that you ask your grocer for chikki jaggery. Now, chikki jaggery is basically jaggery which is drier. While cooking, it just kind of dries out and it does not get moist, which is very important. Don't get that wrong, otherwise you get this entire recipe wrong. Just stir this to ensure that the jaggery gets nicely enveloped with the water and wait for it to melt. You need to do this on low flame and just ensure that you keep stirring this, because otherwise this could get burn spots and you do not want that to happen. Visually, if you see this recipe, it begins with melting the jaggery. After melting, it starts looking like deep brown caramel. The next look is the frothed look. It suddenly starts frothing, and that's where you know that you're heading right. After the whole frothing, it'll settle again And that's where you do the first plate test or the water test. And I'll tell you what that is. Let's concentrate on the melting and the frothing for now. Now if you see, the froth has settled and this has just become like caramel, almost like a sugar caramel. If you're using sugar to make this recipe, of course, I'm going to follow the same recipe to this stage. Now, if you're checking this with the help of a thermometer probe or a temperature probe, this should now be 107. So remember that. At 104, it's like a soft ball. These are stages of sugar. And at 107, it's got that first hard stage. Of course, we're not going to the hard crack or the crack stage. This is just leaving it right there. Now, this is known as the water test or the sugar test. What I'm going to do is take just a few drops in cold water and bring them together with the help of your index finger. Now, when you lift this out of the water, this almost forms like a ball. Now, this one is not a soft ball. This is like a hard ball. Now, how do you check whether the ball is of this consistency, which is correct? All you need to do is take another bowl which has no water and drop it. This is the sound that we are all looking for. Once you hear that, off goes the flame. And to this, we're going to add in the nuts which are still warm. Along with this, any flavoring of your choice. It could be saffron, it could be cardamom, anything. Well, I personally prefer cardamom, so I'm adding that. But by all means, you can also add in saffron. Well, my favorite saffron for this recipe is the Indian Mogra. And I'll tell you why specifically that. Because that leaches lesser color and gives you more flavor. So in case you're making this recipe, use the Mogra saffron. Let's mix all of this together. And without further ado, without wasting any time, this straight goes on a butter paper or a sheet, a baking sheet which is oiled, or a silpat if you bake regularly. You spread this like so. Now, because of the nuts which are whole, especially almonds in this case, the height of the chikki will be the size of the almonds. Let's bring all of this together. Just fold it, one book fold. If you're using a rolling pin, one rolling pin, or just press it with the help of my palms. You can also use a rolling pin to get that nice finished gloss for the chikki. This could be very hot. Ensure you do not get scalded. Rolling pin in this case works just perfect. Well, I'm doing this for several years and I'm kind of used to the kind of heat. But if you're doing this for the first time, be very careful. Let this be covered for 2 minutes, and after that, we'll give it a few cuts, which could be marcations, by using a knife. Now, this will not be cut through and through, because after that, if you buy chikki commercially, this eventually goes in a box. Now, generally, you see they always cut into a square because the square fits in perfectly in a packaging box. So again, choice is completely yours, but just ensure you do not cut everything at this stage. Just give it few marcations and that's perfect. After 5 minutes of keeping this aside, we need to open this. And if you see, it gets a wonderful shine right on top. Let's start giving it some marcations. Do not cut in through and through, otherwise you'll cut through the silpat or cut through the paper. The next and the final step is to cover this again. Give it just a light press with your palms and keep this aside for at least half an hour so that the chikki sets perfectly well. Our dry fruit chikki has perfectly set. Time to straight serve this. Now, if the marcations go wrong, the cuts could go wrong, and that's why it's important to give it that mark. Well, these little pieces that go right on the sides get crushed, and like I said earlier, in case this does not set, this gets crushed and goes on vanilla ice cream, goes in the deep freezer, and that's why you have a nice nutty ice cream. Now this chikki, I promise, the moment your family sees this will all get exhausted. But in any case, if you make them a little more in quantity, you need to store this in an airtight container. Primarily, very, very, very important, without anything else in that box. Please do not keep anything else in that box apart from the chikki, because that way the humidity is in control. Well, the dry fruit chikki is done and ready, and this now straight goes on the table. Now you don't have to go to any hill station to buy the chikki especially. make it at your own home and serve it to your family and friends. If you like this video, show us a thumbs up and continue watching Rajshri Food. Bye.